Hey guys, this is Tattoo Tony, and this is the second part of Polyester Kills, aka the old cotton root. As promised, I put up the second part of this video. By the way, if you stay tuned on this channel, the upper floors of this building, I've got a plan rattling around in my head about how to get onto the top floors and explore them, because I got a peek and it looks kind of cool up there, you know. Looks like something I might want to see, you might want to see. So keep your fingers crossed, maybe that'll pan out and I can get up there, what you're seeing now. This is a very long building. If you watch the last part of this video, you'll be able to see just how long this building is. There's Red Fox. Red Fox was from St. Louis. Played Fred Sanford. But I've been seeing those Red Fox tags since I was a kid. Different places. I'm going to try to get this story out. On the edges of the building, on the facade, it said Cotton Belt Route. Here's a look in the basement. Maybe able to get down here too, but I'm really interested in getting in the top of the building. I looked and there was no clear-cut way down here. Could have dropped down, but from this view it didn't necessarily look worth it. But I've got a plan. Here's a little bit of possibly drug paraphernalia. Bottom of a soda can ripped off. Had been heated up from the bottom and burnt. You know, who knows? It's hard to say what that was from, but could have been. There's some rolling papers there. But anyways, get back into the history of this place and recap a little bit. The St. Louis Southwestern, best known as the Cotton Belt Railroad Freight Depot, is part of the National Register of Historic Buildings. It opened in January 1st of 1913. It exemplifies the history of the Cotton Belt line during a long, tumultuous era when fortunes were made in railroads. Whole regions were economically dependent upon capturing different areas by rail. The Cotton Belt provided a valuable trade connection from St. Louis through Arkansas and into Texas. Although St. Louisans, from pioneering entrepreneurs in 1875 to solid managers in the early 20th century, played essential roles in its development and multiple reincarnations. The St. Louis Southwestern Freight Depot is the only St. Louis building constructed by the Cotton Belt. It retains pretty good integrity, despite the fact that it's been out and open to the elements. The period of this building's heyday was from about 1913 to 1954. The history of the St. Louis Southwestern Railroad, best known as the Cotton Belt line, began in the town of Tyler, Texas in 1875, when Major James P. Douglas, a young Confederate Army officer, spearheaded an optimistic venture descriptively named the Tyler Tap, envisioned as a narrow gauge linked to either the Texas and Pacific or International Railroad. The entrepreneurs obtained a charter, began laying track, and acquired rolling stock consisting of 1 passenger car, 16 freight cars, and a single locomotive. Financial problems 4 years later brought Douglas to St. Louis to meet with a group of potential investors headed by Colonel James W. Paramore, an officer with the Union Army who had made a post-war name and fortune as the owner of the giant St. Louis Cotton Compress Company. The group secured additional funds in New York with an expanded vision. St. Louis would have a direct connection through Arkansas and Texas to Mexico City via connection to the Iron Mountain at Texarkana. Reorganized in 1879 as the Texas and St. Louis Railway, the corporation elected a board of 8 directors equally divided between St. Louis and Texas. If you want to get more history on this building, I suggest you look at the National Register of Historic Places. And there are just pages and pages of history.
Hey, is this place making you nervous at all? No. Being back down here away from shit don't bother you though? That other warehouse looks really shady, dude. I hope somebody don't come out of there and look in the bushes.
Okay, so I said that other building looks shady. I don't know if I already panned across it in this video, but it'll happen soon. Actually, I already panned across it. You could see a smaller building when I looked out in the field. If you need to rewind, maybe do that and take a look. I'm talking fast because I want to tell the story before the video's over. But we ran into some people near this building that were just walking dogs, and we assured them that this building was okay and there was nobody in it. And we showed them the main entrance to the building, and they looked at it. They left. It delayed us a little bit from going in the other building, which I felt kind of, a little bit nervous about. It looked like people might be staying in it. Well, as we went over there, Andrew spotted a guy, and he said, "Hey, there's a guy over there." And I said, "Really, where?" And I saw him, and the guy had dreads. So, I'm talking real fast. A bunch of tattoos. I went and talked to the guy. And anyways, he told us that he'd been staying in the building with him and his old lady and his housemaid, which I found kind of odd. He said, I asked him, is there anybody else in the building, that's strange, or, would it be safe to go in and look? The guy said he had to go take care of some business, and that
well, look at this.
And that he'd give us a tour in a little bit. I kind of declined and decided not to. He also mentioned that there was a guy.
Some weave.
Yeah, there's a weave.
Yeah.
So.
Condoms and shit. I think we got raped. I don't know. Somebody's been staying in these places. Look. The toilet paper and shit. See it?
So anyways, the guy mentioned that there was a guy that was staying there too that had been bothering his old lady, and that he told us he had to beat him in the head with a brick over and over again to get him to leave. And, he seemed like a nice enough guy, though, standing outside talking to him. I mean, you never know. The guy might have been a creep, and, he's, squatting in a vacant building, and hitting the dude with a brick might have been the only way to get the guy to go away. Not quite sure. This area, though, we didn't see any sign of anybody other than, the old mattresses and different things that were laying around showing us that people had been squatting here. But after we talked to that gentleman and he said he had some business to handle, on our way out, there was people everywhere. Street people, homeless people. There was a lady who was an obvious drug user. I mean, you could tell by her skin, her eyes, she looked like she was death warmed over. But just a bunch of... it was kind of strange. They just seemed to pop out of nowhere, and they were all over the place. And so definitely this area... I think people that know about maybe the drug problem in our area are aware of this, but this seems to be an area that's frequented by hardcore drug addicts. So anyways, there's our contact information. Thanks to all my Patreon supporters. Thanks to everybody else for watching, subscribing, liking, commenting, supporting. And go check out Andrew's Instagram pages because he takes fantastic photographs. I appreciate all the support. Love you guys.